Hey everybody, welcome to episode 32 of Let's Unpack That, the podcast that won't suddenly decide to start being anti-Semitic out of nowhere. This is
God.
this is your host Chevall. It's been a weird couple of weeks. This is your host Chevall here with your other host, my co-host Cal. Hi, we're here to talk about Berserk. a media analysis podcast, critical analysis. We talk about everything here, but mostly Berserk. Usually we start with a lot of other stuff if you haven't been here before. So yeah, we will eventually talk about Berserk. A lot of Berserk today because a lot of lore comes into it today. So I'm super excited because we learn a lot more about a dude we've only seen like twice so far, I think. Yeah, once. Yeah, once or twice, yeah. It should be good. Sorry, I had made that little comment at the beginning because everybody knows about the Kanye West thing. He just decided all the NDAs came undone, and they were like, yeah, actually he's admired Hitler for like a long time, and he loves Hitler, and he's wanted to name an album after Hitler.
It's been crazy seeing that shit. And I know that's like a hard one for you, especially like I know you've like worked on it over the years. But, like
I've been done with him for a while, right? But then like every time he opens his mouth, I'm like, oh my fucking god! Like
just back at it again.
He back at it again. Who keeps putting a mic in front of him? Who keeps asking him questions? Like it's just a lot. And then like it's just started a really weird wave of like. I'm not gonna lie, you guys are just unoriginal, like very unoriginal anti-Semitic schools of thoughts, like popping up, being like, "Oh, you guys haven't heard this theory?" Like and I hate it. So yeah, just it's been really fucking dreading the internet. I've been on the Twitter to open it up and like tweet a few things, and I shut it because it's just been hell the past week. A billionaire decided to buy it and then fire its entire staff. So that's been entertaining and also the most dreadful thing.
Did you see how he was choosing who to fire from his coding people?
How many lines of code they wrote? That's if you know anything, I used to be a computer science major, but here's the thing: you don't even need to know that. If you know anything about code, like if you know like. If you have 2% of knowledge about code,
minimum.
Yeah, you know that doesn't mean that means fucking nothing. That literally doesn't mean anything. So that's what's going on at Twitter. Advertisers have pulled out. Somebody made a joke where they're like, "Wow, I've seen a lot less ads on Twitter ever since Elon Musk took over. That's really cool. Good for him." But like, it's because advertisers are pulling out of deals because he was sharing articles about how Nancy Pelosi's husband is actually gay, and it was his gay lover that attacked him or something. There's some wild conspiracies about an old man getting the shit beat out of him when that's kind of all that happened.
Sometimes it's just some old man gets his ass beat. That's all it is.
They were looking for Nancy and blah blah blah. Okay, even if they were like he got his ass beat. Why are we putting all these conspiracies? I mean, anyway. Yeah, no, it's so the guy who bought Twitter did that, so that's been fun to watch.
He's a reliable person, makes good cars, and has good politics and ideas and opinions.
Excellent politics. Changing the entire verification system of Twitter the day before an election. Incredible things we're seeing here.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, I keep forgetting the election is.
Yeah, we actually voted on Friday. We were like, we have to do it before we forget. Honestly, we were like, yeah, because we kept getting those texts. This is something really funny. So, Haley has been getting Black Voters Matters texts, and for people, the context, my wife is white. Haley, she's not black, so she keeps getting Black Voters Matter stuff like over and over and over. And it's not like they're like, do this for Black people. Like it's literally like. It's like we have to do this for us, for our like survival and stuff, and like she'll show it to me because I get the same exact text. Right. So I think because we're married, they like made some assumptions, and they were like, we should ask. The Haley spelled kind of weird, right? Yeah. So it's been
That's not a white way to spell it.
That's not a white way to spell Haley, even though it's a very white way to spell Haley. But
yeah, it's a very white.
So yeah, eventually the pressure, not even the pressure got to us, but we were like, oh, that was like a good reminder. Let's just go do that, because we're like down the street from where we vote from, which is not the case for everybody. So we're like, yeah, sure, we can just go there and do it, and it took not even our whole lunch break. So we were pretty fortunate to be able to do that.
I'm pretty sure our voting place is like miles away from us now, because we got redistricted. Thanks, Denton. Also,
oh god,
I don't believe in the voting system.
Radical thoughts.
Hot take podcast.
What? You mean voting? You mean sometimes voting like doesn't matter? What? You mean it's not the? No, yeah, no.
No, for what it is worth to everybody, I do a lot of local community stuff, and like I help out as much as I can in those spheres. But voting itself to me is not the be all end all. I'll put it mildly that way this time. But
yeah,
it is what it is. You know, like if you vote, I think that's good. I think if that's something you strongly believe in, you should do that.
Unless you're white and over the age of 60.
Jesus Christ, yeah, don't vote.
What are you doing? Listen to this podcast. Get out of here.
Yeah. Elder discrimination on our podcast. Ageism. Very. No, but I don't know. It's something where I don't climb up people's butt about it, because I myself am bad about doing it. Also, my ID is in like limbo right now, so I don't even know if I can technically.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it's one of those things where like I remember in college and stuff, people were like really like up people's assholes about voting. Right? They're like, you gotta vote, and like there's all kinds of different like histories to people's like ability to vote and all that stuff like that. So people try to shame you with that too, which is kind of funny. But I don't know. It is kind of funny sometimes, like talking to some people, and they are like, if you didn't vote, you can't complain about anything, which is like very it's a lot of baby thinking. Yeah, I don't understand that at all. It's like, oh, you didn't vote in the election? Don't complain about anything to me ever again. That's just very like, especially because a lot of people can't vote. Like,
well,
they don't want to vote. I don't know.
If we're gonna go this route, like, in Texas right now, as I just said, there is a lot of stuff that's happening to prevent people from voting.
Yeah.
Almost everyone in our college town who is a college student cannot vote here anymore, because they have to go to their hometown, because it's like fucking Jesus times or whatever, where you have to go home to like get counted or whatever the fuck for I don't even know.
And they made that worse within the past couple of years too. Yeah, it used to be so much easier to vote. When we were in college, it was so much easier to
it was way easier to vote when we were in college. But like now it's just like a mess, and especially in Texas and in our district, my district specifically, they've really been working hard to do the devil's work. So it's just like really hard to get to places. When you get there, there's always like people picketing outside, not picketing, but like, doing their Republican showboat thing outside, which they're not supposed to do. And then they also hand out like false shit. So it's just really frustrating when people are like, oh, you have to vote. And I'm like, I live in Texas, man. Like, I don't like, we were one of the bluest like counties, and now we're not because of the way they split us up. So like, I don't know.
They redistrict, they gerrymander stuff. It's
a lot of gerrymandering. That's what you do. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I've become very disillusioned with voting over the past few years, and I think it's a lot more important to focus on people, because a lot of times when people are like, you need to go vote, I voted. I'm like, that's great. What else are you doing to help, since you obviously feel strongly about like your
like, where are you putting your money? Where are you like helping out? Who are you supporting? Are you doing like community care? Like, do you actually know the people that you live around? Like,
are you checking in with people? Are you like looking at stuff in your area? And even if you can't go, like because you are physically disabled or you have like some other condition that prohibits you from going, are you like making sure you're spreading the news about it? Are you making sure like in the know about what's going on? The answer is usually people aren't, or they don't know. So to me, it's more important to raise awareness about that right now, because I think we've all got you should vote down pat. You
Yeah,
know,
they've
like
been shoving that on us. And I'm sorry, after you vote in so many elections, how many times you kind of like, maybe there's more to this. Like that's the thing, right? Like,
that's kind
I
of where I was at.
yeah, it's like there is more to do, and I feel like the messaging as we get older is always like more and more like vote, and if things don't work out, that's too bad. And that's kind of, even though they can do things like just appoint people and they just circumvent any kind of voting you can do, and like there's all kinds of tricks and bullshit to politics that it's not even like people like to make those kind of people out to be like, tinfoil hat people, like, oh, there's people in politics, but no, it's true. Like, they have so many different loopholes to just get around. Like, oh, cool, you made your district blue. That's great. Check out your governor and check out all his friends and check out the federal government. Like, there's so many things to just like. It is one of those things where you can't get caught up in it to be like, this is a fight you can't win. It's just that like
No.
you can't tell me going to the ballot box is the only way to like do anything
Exactly.
about this, which is a good segue into something else later. But yeah.
Yeah, it's more about like knowing all of your options and not just beginning and ending at voting, because like Chevall said, there's so many little things that go on. Like even in local government too, like our
Oh
mayor.
yeah.
Oh, you want to know something funny? Sorry, I just remembered.
Yes.
The guy who opened a fucking crypto mine here in Denton is like hemorrhaging money.
Oh, I wonder why.
He's tanking so hard, and I'm just like, die. I hope your place burns down.
It's almost like crypto is just it's like gambling with a new wig on and it's got new heels on. Like it's crypto is so fucking stupid. I'm glad that happened.
I was laughing my fucking ass off when Sasha told me that because of course we knew it was gonna happen. But he's been polluting fucking Denton for like a year now with all his like offset, his ozone offset from his computers and shit.
Taking all these fucking graphics cards away from gamers, fucking asshole.
PC Master Race is on your ass.
yeah, it's karma coming back because somebody wanted to play Apex Legends at 400 FPS. You didn't let them, you fucking asshole.
They really wanted to play Fortnite in like full 500K.
And 8K with 60 frames per second. Yeah, no, anytime I hear anything about crypto recently, it's always like I've had this. Me and Haley had this argument with somebody the other day, but like, it's just money again, right? Which like another radical thought. Money is kind of like if we didn't have money, like we could work something else out. There's a lot of people who don't think that, but anyway, that was the argument that we were having. Yeah. so basically they were like, well, everybody can get in at the ground floor. Crypto is so easy for everybody. And I was like, what if you don't have a phone? And they're like, well, they're giving phones to people in Africa. And I was like, okay, so people in Africa are getting phones to buy crypto. Okay, so what if you can't afford it anymore? Like, what do you mean? Like, it kept going over and over to where I was like, only the people at the top are getting most of the crypto. That's how it works. Yeah. That's why Elon Musk owns so much Bitcoin. Like, that's how money. It's just money again, right? It's just new money. It's just the money part 2, right? So yeah, it's just a dumb concept, and they try to. The thing I've seen is they try to like pitch it, the idea to like minorities as like, this is how you can build wealth now. Is like, if you take a Bitcoin class, like this is new, so you can get in on the ground floor, and your money can your family can have money. So go spend $10,000 right now on Bitcoin. Like,
I mean, that's how they got like artists with NFTs, right? They were like, you can get in at this level, and it's supporting independent artists because you don't have to go through someone else or not taking a cut from you. And then what they're neglecting to tell you is that it's still a pyramid scheme. Like there's still someone at the top who is making more money. And while it's not like directly a pyramid scheme, because it's not like, oh, I'm making more money under me, but also it is because they're putting value into your stock that you are promoting for blah 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 blah. Or like if you like sponsor an artist, you know that if you buy that NFT, it's going to gain value or whatever. I don't even know how that works even necessarily,
because it doesn't work.
It doesn't. And like I read it was an article kind of, it was an excerpt from a book that I really want to read. but it was about how this is very heavy, by the way. Sorry for like suddenly switching. But it was about how some government agents basically used crypto to track people who were doing child porn and had like these large child porn rings, because the way crypto is pitched to people is like, oh, there's no trace or whatever, right? Like they know, but there's constantly a trace because it's
on the blockchain, like which if you know anything about Bitcoin,
the whole thing is the blockchain. And like once you have access to that chain, you have access to like everyone's wallet on that chain, and so you can track their transactions, and you can find entire caches of shit in like the black market and stuff. And I always think about that whenever people are talking about like how secure crypto is or how much like better than money it is, or whatever. And I'm like, bro, I'm just gonna go put my money in a mattress again at this point. Like,
and that's the thing, right? Like they're like, because sorry, adult talk or whatever. The country just raised the fucking interest rates, right? So if you try to buy a house or if you have a credit card or whatever, your interest rates just went up again, right? For like the third or fourth or fifth time this past year, right? So here's the thing. Bitcoin people have been popping out of the woodworks every time this happens to go, well, this didn't happen with Bitcoin. This couldn't happen with Bitcoin because there's no banks involved. And it's like, okay, you act like at one point, like in the future, one of the motherfuckers that own most of the Bitcoin is going to be like, yo, charge is going up. I need y'all to get my shit up. Let's raise the price of Bitcoin. Like it's one of those things where it's just so like deceitful, and it's also like, sorry, a lot of tech stuff is very like predatory, right? Like a lot of it is very like, you know, we're gonna track you, but we're not gonna track you. I promise. Like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So we got you. So it's just very weird to see it get more and more mainstream, especially when NFTs were taken off, because it was just a bunch of money-hungry celebrities showing their audience that they really only care about money. And every other day it was a new celebrity being like, get my NFT. This is such a new cool art form. Like they cared about art or something like that. So I don't know. It's just nasty out there, man. It's like open pyramid schemes, dude. It's fucking insane.
Really, and also, I honestly think like people in America specifically know a lot more about it than people in other countries, because this happened like kind of like at the tail end of a lot of the like big uproar about NFTs. You know, when they were just trying to get other people to do it. There is a Japanese fashion icon. Her name is Minori. She does a lot of like not visual kei. She does a lot of I cannot remember. It's a specific type of fashion style that's like very theatrical in a lot of ways. It's really cool. I followed her for years. She's always been a huge inspiration. And I saw that she was doing an NFT, and I was like, oh, that really sucks. Like, I really like Minori a lot, and she's like a very genuine person, so it's kind of like fucking sucks to see. And she got a lot of backlash on it, and people were like, but there were people who were like, hey, like, I know in Japan you guys don't know as much about this yet, but like, this is what it is, and this is what's doing that. And her, when she made her apology,
Wait, your mic sounds kind of off a little bit.
Sorry. I think I was leaning back too far.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot better, yeah.
Okay, cool. She was talking about how like the way it was pitched to her is just like a way for her to sell her art, because people weren't buying from her store as much, and she needs to make a living, you know. She needs to be able to pay for her tickets. She needs to be able to pay for like all this other stuff, because she makes most of her shit too, and so like she needs to pay for supplies and stuff. But and with COVID, sponsorships have gone down. She hasn't been able to make appearances, just like all this stuff, you know. And she's like, if I like make an art book, will you guys buy it? And people are like, yeah, of course. Like, we'll buy whatever you put out. Just don't do NFTs. And there were a bunch of NFT bros who were in there, and they were like, oh, people aren't going to follow through, blah, 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 blah. And then she sold out in like 30 minutes when she put the art books out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah.
And that's the thing, if you're not in the tech circles, because they know what fucking NFTs are in Japan, right? Like, she was probably pitched it by her team. And she was like, sure, whatever. Like, it doesn't sound harmful, because they probably pitched it to her as something that's not harmful. Yeah. And, yeah, because that's the thing, Square Enix, I think one of those companies, they recently, Registered a trademark that was related to Dino Crisis, a game we have not heard about in a while. Basically, long story short, it's Resident Evil but with dinosaurs. It's literally built on the same engine. It's an old school game, and people have really been wanting it to come back. And they re-registered a different game that's tangentially related to that, Parasite Eve. So Parasite Eve, they registered a trademark related to that, and they're like, oh, they're bringing Parasite Eve back. That's great. Boom, brought it back for NFTs. So they named something from Parasite Eve, like they took a name from that and named their NFT program after it. So basically, like, just made fans very upset. Like, they're like, dude, I thought a new game was coming. Like, you're wasting my time with NFTs. I think SNK had some NFT shit, and I think they're owned by like Saudi Arabia now or some shit. Like, it's just it's all over the world. They're just really like, all those crypto bros who've been in Africa for like 6 or 7 years, just
they're giving people
fucking around and giving people cell phones so they can mine crypto for them. And I think Sasha sent us something the other day about how they're like using people in the Philippines as like avatars, using crypto. Like, it's just nasty shit. So like, I don't know, if you're somebody who's listening to this and you own crypto or something, and you just like don't really know what you're thinking about or like what it is, you're just like, I'm just stacking money or whatever. Like, at least look into it. Like, the people behind it aren't the best people. They do just want to come out on top at the end. Like, that is what they want, to make a lot of money. It has nothing to do with everybody can access this and it's better than money. They just want to make money. Like, that's what it is. Like, at the end of the day.
It's another thing that's being couched in like progressive language or like language with buzzwords in it to make you think like, oh, this could potentially be a good thing for me. The thing is, they are pitching it to you very differently than they are pitching it to investors, right? Like, they're pitching it to them as like, this is how we're going to make money. To you, it's more of like, this is how you can make money because you're poor and you can do this too. And you can, like you said, like with the Black community, like you can get your power back or whatever.
Yeah.
Establish your wealth.
Generational wealth, yeah.
Right, like something.
Jay-Z said it's good. Yeah.
Oh, Jay-Z said it's great.
Jay-Z said it's good, so it's
we trust them.
Oh, fuck Jay-Z. I'm gonna get that tattooed on my forehead. God. I don't know.
Subscribers, then Chevall tattoo. No,
right here. No, just for 1,000 subscribers. You don't want to know what else happens after that. I don't know, man. So I think we're gonna make a Tumblr for the show probably. Because Twitter, even if Twitter does like survive the next couple of weeks, right? It's just a different place now. Like, you have developers coming out being like, get out now. You have people who have been there for years being like, you should just get out now. Like, and I get it. I've seen a lot of people who gotten laid off recently who need it to find like writing jobs and stuff. I get that. Like, I get it if you like need it to find that kind of stuff, right? Like, there's freelancers and stuff who like need that shit to find that source. Try to find other places. Get your bone up on your fucking PR inbox or something. Because it's gonna go to the shitter. Some of the details that have come out are like, it might become a hotbed for a lot of illegal things, because one of the things Musk wants to put in is like a pay-per-view thing that is akin to like OnlyFans. I think he's trying to act like we don't know what he's trying to do, but he's trying to basically put in OnlyFans type of functions into Twitter, which I think is a terrible idea, because Twitter is a lot bigger than OnlyFans last time I checked. And you cannot moderate that. You can't moderate that. You can't moderate what everybody's putting out there and what people are paying for. You can pay $8 for a check mark.
Oh my god! That's how we got talking about. I was like, how did we even start talking about election earlier? That to me is insane, because I thought it was just like a maintain your status kind of thing, and then it was like, no, you can just like pay it. I was like, okay. Yeah,
for people who don't know, so this is something that Elon Musk thought would be a good idea. He first pitched it as $20 a month, which is already stupid, and then he pitched it for $8 a month, which is accepted now and is also stupid. But something that was free, by the way. You just need to actually just prove to Twitter that you were somebody of like notice, right? By the way, fuck you, Twitter, for never verifying me. I've been a journalist for like 5 years. Suck my dick. But Elon Musk said, why go through verification processes and have people check things? No. Just pay $8 for it. No matter who you are. So a lot of people have been getting banned over the past few days who have check marks already, because they changed their name to Elon Musk on there and like used the same profile picture as him and have been saying like, I drink my own piss. Hey, remember when I used to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein? Or look at my failed business and all the cars that I have that explode. And they've been getting banned, right? But like, that's the thing. This is the kind of shit they're trying to show him. Like, this is the kind of shit you're gonna have allowed on your website. There's somebody at my job who has a verified checkmark who changed their name to Elon Musk and is just posting wild shit. So it's going in the shitter. I recommend if you are somebody who like, if you just use it for entertainment, I recommend just switching to another, like, get your crack from somewhere else. Get it from Instagram or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's like a lot of stuff that's on Twitter, on other places now. Like it used to be kind of like, I mean, it was funny because like for so long Twitter was just like regurgitated Tumblr shit, and in a lot of ways it still is. Like there are people who are having discourse on Twitter that I had like 8 years ago on Tumblr, and I'm like, we have
a new generation.
I guess. I think it's more of a generational
repeats.
I mean, even the checkmark thing is funny because I remember when Tumblr took away our ability to edit posts in like a certain way because someone made a long essay and edited over John Green. John Green.
Okay.
The writer, because it was about like what was it? I love the taste of cock, and it was like an essay they wrote
I remember
about
that.
it. Funniest fucking shit in the world. And they got banned for it, but also they took away our ability to do that. And it was like, well, we had some laughs. Also, that was really funny, so it's okay. So it's like a worse version of that to me, where it's like, here's this idea, and it's like, oh, you're just bringing back like the ability to like pretend to be somebody and say the most whack shit you could possibly say, which is something.
It's going to be the Wild West.
You're going to have verified bots is the thing.
Yeah. There's going to be a bot. Oh my god, there's going to be so many bots. So many bots are going to come out, which is what he. By the way, it just for context, for people who want to know why this whole thing happened, this is not like fiction, right? Scratch that. This is all alleged. So Elon Musk's wife left him. Him and Grimes were never married. Grimes left him for what's her name?
She was
God damn it. She was in prison for a while. God damn it. Chelsea, yes, Chelsea Manning. So yes, so they started dating, right? And I'm pretty sure that she left Musk for her, right? And and for people who don't know, Chelsea Manning is transgender. So he's been on like this rip on trans people for like a year now, I would say. And that's not an exaggeration. Like literally, like a year, he's just been saying like the most wild shit about trans people and pronouns. I guess is like the new slur they have for trans people now.
Just so
it's boring. Yeah. So I think he went on a bender one night and somebody sent him a meme about how like a weed meme, and that's why he pitched that much money. It was like 44 billion for Twitter, I think, right? So that's why he pitched that much money, was based on a meme. And basically he got too far into the process to the point where he couldn't back out. So it's one of those things where he was doing something as a joke, and because he's so out of touch, he didn't realize that like he signed a binding agreement, which is why he went to court with Twitter. Because they were like, no, you can't back out of this. Like you signed, like you said you were gonna try to buy us, so buy us. Even though they didn't want him to buy them, like they didn't. They were just like, no, you want to do this, so let's do this. And then he just caved and bought it. So he didn't even want to do this in the first place. So that's where the platform is. It's being run by somebody who didn't want to do this in the first place. They did it as a joke.
It's always a good thing. It's always a good thing to have someone like that running a platform.
Yeah, don't you love people who are doing their job and they fucking hate it? Don't they always do it the best? Isn't?
Yeah, I'm a really good. No, I'm fucking kidding. If you're my boss, don't listen to my podcast.
No comment. No comment.
No. Yeah, there's so much with it. By the way, if you do migrate to Tumblr, it's pretty easy to use, but you do have to curate your own content. I will say that. It's very different from TikTok and Twitter. I know a lot of people have kind of like debriefed on this, but like you will have to find someone you follow, and then you'll probably find more people through them, and then just like build a network that way. The tag system works, which is incredible.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
They allow porn again, so there's that. If that's why you're on Twitter.
Yeah, if you're using Twitter for porn,
seek help.
Thank you. That's what I was about to say. I'm about to say get help.
Let's rock.
Anyways, we do actually focus on what our podcast is about, which is Berserk. Let me pull up last time.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into the recap with Cal, and then he's gonna do the first chapter. Cool. Sweet.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, cool. Right, I'll make that bigger. And then, so we are on, as you can see, this is our very legal website that I like to use. So whatever we're presenting on here.
Hey, listen, we have the books. I have
it. I promise.
I bought it.
I own it. It's tabbed. You can see it. I need to go back through and retab some things, but yeah.
See, we bought them.
We paid Miura our dues, so
yeah,
it's a lot.
Also, put the money directly on his grave. Exactly.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Right. But last time, so we're on chapter 52.
Yes.
So 50 and 51 last time. So I got to get my brain screwed back in.
All good.
Splatoon.
Talk about something else you like a lot. It's really hard to get back on
track.
Right.
Yeah. It's bouncing around in my head. Okay. So brief recap of last time. If you are coming back in after not listening for a while, we used to do longer recaps, but we have shortened it quite a bit in the past several that we've done. Get through it quicker. We can focus on the meat of other things. We don't want to waste your time. But if you want to know more about any of this, you can listen to our last episode, which is available on Anchor or wherever else you choose to listen.
It's good, we promise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good podcast.
Yeah.
If you're listening now, I hope you're enjoying it, even though we talked about Splatoon for God knows how long. So it's all good. But yeah, so currently we are on the Save Griffith mission. So we're trying to get him out of the depths of hell, wherever he's quarantined off right now. And there's been a lot of stuff going on. Charlotte, the princess, has joined us somewhere along the way. She's actually their informant on the inside. And we get to meet her, and she takes us to the tower where Griffith is being held, and we learn that he's at the very, very bottom of it. I wasn't kidding. He's in under the earth. Several, a mile under the ground right now.
Yeah.
But the princess helps the group get through a couple of guards that come through. She walks them all the way up there. But she does insist on tagging along for the full rescue, which nobody is very happy about, including her. To be fair, she wants to do it to save Griffith, but she's I don't want to though. Also. There's a lot of mixed feelings going on. Her handmaiden is also just not fucking down with any of this, but she's very loyal and is tagging along. God bless you, Anna.
God bless Anna.
Yeah, and so they've entered the tower. Casca and Guts have had a little tiff at some point. But we also left off last time on a different scene in a cliffhanger where Rickert was hanging back with the rest of the Band of the Hawk, who couldn't either go on the mission or who were recovering from being attacked incessantly for an entire year. There's a lot of wounded. There's a lot of sick people. Most of them aren't up to snuff.
So not the best time.
Yeah, he's been hanging back with them and helping fix them up, keeping morale up, doing whatever they need to do. But as he's collecting some water, he happens to see something across the lake, and when it comes closer, he realizes that it's an elf or a fairy. That's what they call fairies in Zergland, I guess. But he's kind of confounded, and he's what the fuck is that doing here? But then he hears a bunch of noise back at the camp, and he's like, oh, fuck, like, we were just about to save Griffith. Why are we getting attacked right now? Like, there's all this shit happening. And when we leave off at the last chapter, he just comes back to, like, devastation. Like, it's completely pitch black. The camp's on fire. You can't see anybody. And it was quite the little cliffhanger.
Yeah, but all good for him. Yay.
Yeah, he's having a good time, I promise. But we start back today on, if you're on the site, chapter 52. It's the Festival's Eve, chapter 2. We get this really sick Skull Knight panel, which I just want to share with class, because I can do that now. I can show you guys. I'd be like, look at this sick shit. Look at that guy.
It looks awesome. And my favorite part is the part at the top that looks like a crown, but it's like horns coming out of his head.
Yeah, it's so really sick. Yeah, it's like the bone, like, skull. I don't know. It's cool shit.
Super cool.
I also like his, like, little spurs right here. Whatever he's got going on there. But yeah, Rickard comes back and it's just like absolute chaos. It's really quiet and he doesn't know where the fuck anyone is. And he's like, did they, like, get out safely? Like, I don't see anybody. I don't see good guys. I don't see bad guys. I don't know what's going on. And he hears something behind him. And he sees one of his comrades who's suspended in the air, and he's telling Rickard to run. And he's, like, obviously, like, paralyzed with fear. He doesn't know what to do. And we happen to see a monstrous face start to come out of the darkness as well. This is a very cool scene in the anime, by the way. If you have not watched that anime, it's really sick. But Rickard's obviously freaking out, and we get a larger shot of this monster who is just chomping on his friend. And he is massive. Like, I don't have my thing at full screen, but so I can read it easier. But it's a substantial monster. If you have been with us from the beginning, you probably recognize this guy also. And if you don't, you should go back.
Go back to the beginning. I don't even know what episode, but it was pretty close to the beginning.
Yeah, it's one of the first arcs. It's like the second arc, I think. But
we literally know who this is.
We literally know this man, and he's a piece of shit. So he's here. And I remember the first time I saw this, I was like, oh shit, it's this man. What's he doing back? But you know, he's having a good time chomping on this guy, just like slowly chewing him in front of Rickard, who is somehow not pissing himself.
Yeah.
Which is a miracle. But he is still scared shitless, and he's like, this can't exist. Like, where is this coming from? Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And then he looks behind him and he sees like almost this portal start to open up. And out of this portal just comes like all these like bug demons. There's several of them. I think some of them we will see more later.
Yes, we do. We do see them later.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought. But we do get a very sick shot of all of them. We got like a mantis guy. We got a rhino beetle. We got a spider. I think this guy's a flea.
Right. So what this is, I think it's like the dung beetle, like rolling up a ball of like a ball of all of Rickard's comrades, like all their dead bodies. Is like, it's like, you know how like dung beetle. So for people like, if you're not watching this, like if you imagine like a dung beetle rolling a ball of shit, yeah, that's basically what's going on. It's just like a mound of
corpses that are, some of them are already like half eaten and like desiccated. Some of them are still full corpses that are just like screaming and like pain. But yeah, you know what? That's definitely what's going on. I did not process that. Miura is not always good at conveying things, but I'm also not always good.
It took me a couple reads. Yeah.
Yeah. I've read this a couple times, so you would think, but I'm just slow. But he's freaking out, and the fairy that he saw earlier is just kind of chilling up there. She's very proud of herself. We may have to censor this on YouTube.
We will definitely have to censor this. Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, she's chilling. She's very content and pleased with herself. And she orders, I guess all the bug people are kind of on her side, and she orders them to go after Rickard, who is still just like scared shitless, doesn't know what to do. It's kind of like when Guts faced off against Zod for the first time, and he literally could not move because just the presence of fear is so overpowering.
Yeah.
And Rickert hasn't really had to deal with that before, so it's a new one for him. But luckily, our good buddy shows up, the Skull Knight, and he's on his sick horse with this chest plate that I always forget is there, and then I see it. Does he have He has toe shoes on. I just realized that.
Yes. You can see it in the if you look at the title like the title page for the chapter. He has like little toe shoes on too. Yeah,
so
it's kind of sick. Yeah.
He knows, but he pulls up, and all the demons are kind of like, "Oh shit, it's this guy."
Literally, they're like, "Fuck."
They're like, "Oh, I don't." But he's like, "Get the fuck out of here! Like, y'all withdraw. Don't be here." And they kind of hesitate, like, and the fairy's kind of like pouting a little bit. She's got her little fists clenched, and it's like, "I don't want to," but he's like, "You don't have the time for this. You need to hurry. There's shit you have to do." And they're all just kind of like, "Yeah, I guess." So they all kind of slink off. The fairy calls off the dudes and flies off. She, not before like sticking her tongue out at the skull. She's like, "Fuck you, man. I was having a good time." But all of them leave. Everything's burning around Rickert and the Skull Knight. And the Skull Knight's kind of checking on him, like, looking down at him. But
fucking terrifying looking, by the way. Yeah. This isn't like a cool guy to look at.
No, he looks down at his eyes are glowing. He's got like fire like in the background. And Rickert just starts screaming finally, which is a fair response in my opinion. I think he is fully entitled to do that. He's having a full-blown breakdown. He's like, "What the fuck is happening?" Like, I don't know what's going on. And he turns around and like the Skull Knight's gone. And he's left with like this ball of his like comrades' bodies. And like, we were so fucking close. Like, Griffith was gonna come back. They were so happy. Like, I don't know how this could have happened. And the Skull Knight is up on a tree somehow with his horse. And he kind of watching Rickert for a second, and then he's like, "Okay, I got shit to do." And then he bounces off the tree with his horse and goes off into the moonrise. So that is the end of that chapter, which is a shorter one, but still a good one. I also just love this panel a lot. I think I used that in our recent announcement just because I was like, I like that one.
Slash. It's a good panel. It's and also like there's a reason that chapter is a little shorter now that I think about it. All the monsters they showed us are actually like pretty important. Like they're not just like like we said, one of the guys we've seen earlier, which we'll talk about him later. But some of the other guys we will see like further into the story. There's actually a character we saw just now that I was like when I was reading the chapters, I was like, "Oh, that's when we saw them. I didn't realize we saw them this early." Yeah. So so we'll go ahead and start the next chapter. The 1,000-year fiefdom, where Guts and the crew are beginning to play a really weird round of Slay the Spire. Are
you streaming yours?
Yes, I am.
I cannot see.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
It's all good. See, I think it says you should be able to see it. Okay, cool.
How do you hide Craig's little window? Can you do that?
I think if you hide your screen share, you mean, or?
Oh, like I have it screen sharing. I took mine off stream, so I'm looking at yours now.
Yeah.
But I have like 4 windows at the bottom, so I didn't know if I could knock Craig's out.
Right. So if you right click and then do show non-video participants, you can unclick that box and you can get rid of him.
Okay, cool. I just wasn't on your stream. Okay.
No problem.
There we go. I'm good now.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So we get back to the crew. So just to recap, right? It's Guts, Casca, Judo, Pippin, and then Anna, who is Charlotte's assistant, basically, right? Like she's taking care of her.
She's her handmaiden, I think.
Handmaiden. That's what I was looking for, right? So they caved last time. She threw a big fit, and she's coming into the tower with them. Which they're not going up; they're going down. They're going into the ground. Which we'll get a little more information on that, right? So, as they're walking, the first thing that Gut says is like, impressive. This goes a lot deeper than the part of the tower above ground. So they've already like they walk in the tower and they're already like heading down, right? So we missed ground floor, whatever that looks like. And Charlotte's looking around, she's kind of shaking a little bit. There's like a lot of chains hanging around, clinking together. It's probably pretty windy in there because it's a deep ass tunnel. But as she's walking by, one of the prisoners who's disfigured like jumps, and it's like a jump scare or something through the bars. Ooga booga, he's disfigured. To which the handmaiden, kind of grabs her, and Guts does too, because she like screamed, right? And they're like, "Are you okay, princess?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's fine." And Guts teases her. He's like, "Yeah, maybe you should have waited anyway, right?" And Anna's like, "No, but for real, we should have waited." And she's like, "No, I need to see Griffith as soon as possible, and I can't quite stand right now. And can you help me out?" And Guts is like, "God damn it, these upper crust rich people, I can't stand them." So he goes ahead and offers her like a piggyback ride, right? And she's like, "No, I couldn't." He's like, "Hey, get on already, or else like we're not gonna be able to go. Like it's not gonna be as nice as a princess carriage, but it'll get us there, right?" So she eventually hops on, and they continue like making their little downward spiral, right? And the whole time this is going on, Costa's kind of like keeping an eye on them because, just to recap, she kind of like let it loose to Guts that she really really misses Griffith. And she's still thinking about him, even though they had sex and they're starting a relationship and stuff. So he's been kind of quiet since then. He's kind of tired of her shit, which understandable. So eventually I can't tell who asks this, but eventually somebody's like, "So how far down does this hole go anyway?" And Charlotte says, "So we heard this from the king, but the underground prison was built after the time of the Inquisition, and it goes down no further than about the depth of the tower." So some of this I'm going to read verbatim because it's just explained a little better. This is like lore stuff. So the hole existed long before the prison did, and the depth is greater than any mountain in all of Midland. So nobody knows what's at the bottom of the hole. But there is a story about why the place is called Midland. So it goes back about 1,000 years ago when the continent saw warring between small city-states and many different tribes. It was apparently about, an age of rival warlords, right? So it was just war after war after war on which, Guts comments and is like, doesn't really sound too much different from today and, not really much progress. And which, I think that should be a sign, right? And Charlotte's like, "Well, but finally someone appeared who put an end to the age of warring. Supreme King Geiseric. Gaiseric. So we're probably both going to pronounce it wrong. If there's like a hardcore Berserk fan that knows how to pronounce it, if we're not saying it right, sure, let us know.
Yeah, send us the pronunciation so we can. We try, but yeah. There's a lot of shit in this fucking story. So.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of different like cultural mixing stuff too. Just because Miura's like, "I like this."
Like, I will put that in there, and everyone's like, "Okay, man."
Sure, man, that sounds good. So more about Supreme King Geiseric. He was an emperor who was able to subjugate dozens of nations and establish an age-old empire encompassing this entire continent for the first and only time in history. No one knows what country he came from or when or how he raised his army. No records whatsoever remain regarding his account prior to his arrival on this stage of history. Really fucking weird. But Guts kind of remarks on the fact that it kind of sounds like Griffith, because once again, he was kind of a nobody and then just showed up with this army full of ragtag ass whooping kids, right? So from the merciless and ruthless way of fighting the emperor would use against those enemies who opposed him, it seems he was given such names as Demon King and the King of Galloping Death. But there was one other reason for this, and she says verbatim, whenever Emperor Geiseric went into battle, he would don a dreadful helmet shaped after a skull. And we get a good image of it. And I don't know if this is part of this helmet or not, but there's like some hair sticking out the back and stuff too. But, or it's like, like the flare, I guess, on the helmet. But it looks pretty similar to Skull Knight's, except it's got like kind of like a lion like thing, like motif going on or something. It's kind of a stupid looking helmet the longer I look at it, but I'm not, not gonna.
Yeah, we're not gonna dwell on that too.
Not gonna dwell on it too long. But yeah, he would go into battle with a skull shaped helmet, right? To which Guts kind of remembers when he saw the Skull Knight for the first time, which, if you guys don't remember, was right after he left the Band of the Hawk 1 year ago. So he kind of just like has a little flashback, right? Nothing too intense. And he's like, no, it couldn't be, right? And then, as he says that, of course, Judo's like, oh yeah, it's the fairy tale of the Skull King. And, he used workers from all over the Empire and forced them to labor. And, he lived in the most extravagant. Like, he just kind of continues the story for Charlotte, right? He kind of just continues the tale. So the city ended up becoming a melting pot of feasting and pleasure. At least, people think so. But then, and this is where things get kind of like weird, right? But God finally decided he couldn't condone the Skull King's deeds and sent five angels, by lightning and great earthquakes. The city was erased from the face of the earth without a trace in the span of a night. So just like that, the whole fucking thing was gone, right? So, but one person remarks it wasn't five angels; it was actually four of them. If you remember the fairy tale, right? But what does the fairy tale like that have to do with his whole? So Judo kind of finishes telling it. And Charlotte's like, well, it's not really a fairy tale. I mean, the city did exist. It's not entirely untrue. And apparently the name of the city meant Land of the Middle Nation. So that's why we call this Midland, right? So background, yay, it's not named after Midland, Texas. Yeah, so...
Yeah, so, you could do...
It's thank God it's not.
I know, right?
So Charlotte goes on to explain that the city fell into the ground eventually during the calamity. Like, literally, basically a hole opened up and fucking the entire thing fell into it. And apparently it's still at the bottom of this tower that they're currently, descending, right? So, that's kind of like, it's kind of like that big, like, scary moment in a horror story. And it's like, legend says that it's still at the bottom of this hole, right? And we kind of get, to this day, and we get like a deeper and deeper like look into the hole, and eventually you do see where like the prison stops, and it's just like a bottomless hole, right? And Guts is like, "Is that true?" And Charlotte's like, "Well, I mean, my history teacher told me, and I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what they told me." And after his death, the territory became covered in a bunch of different countries, most of the ones that we know today. The emperor had no children, so there wasn't a direct line. So his whole, lineage was wiped out during that. But it is said that even out of all those countries, the Midland royal family is the only one that carries Geyserk's blood. So that's how they were able to decide, who the royal people are and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So after all that time, Charlotte says they eventually started investigating the hole, but nobody returned. So... eventually that's why they put the tower there, was to cover up the hole, because they're like, this is just bad vibes, like there's nothing going on there, let's just start anew. And which is kind of funny because now they put prisoners in there. So Judo's like, wow, that's crazy, so that's a really fun history tour, and maybe we'll see some ghosts, and that makes the princess like start like screaming, right? Because I mean, she's a kid, she's really spooked right now. And Casca's been looking back the whole time, kind of like listening to the story and not really paying attention, so she just eats shit and walks directly into a wall. And this is honestly one of my favorite panels from this chapter, because she really just was not paying attention and just like conks her head on the wall, and she drops her torch, right? And Gino's like, wow, that's a bummer. And Guts is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, are you not paying attention? And we follow the torch as it falls, and we see it kind of like light up the face of a ancient statue from like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 years ago or something. And another building, a lot of things that look like a lot of Roman architecture. We'll talk about this in a minute too. It's like very like Greek Roman stuff. But when the torch hits the bottom, we see like piled up skeletons, old decrepit buildings, and remnants of what was formerly known as Midland before the new Midland came to be. And as we zoom in on the corpses, we see that they all have the curse mark imprinted into their foreheads.
Spooky.
Yay! So the fairy tale was real, right? Which, are we fucking surprised? There's goddamn demons in this thing. So, as they're walking, Guts like hears something. He turns around and looks, and he thought he saw something, but he wasn't really sure. But then we see a familiar silhouette. If you've been reading along with this so far, it's somebody that Griffith's been spending a lot of time with this guy the past year. But as they reach the bottom, then they actually reach the bottom, right? So they see a door. There's no more stair steps going down. So this is like the very final jail, right? And they're like, this is it, right? Like Griffith's been here at the bottom of the darkness for a whole year. Is what Casca's thinking as they approach the door. Charlotte immediately wants to get off of her piggyback ride with Guts, and she sprints towards the door and starts knocking on it, starts yelling for Griffith, which I don't know what she thought that was going to do to torture. He's being tortured.
She's like 16.
He's like, I can't come to the door right now, honey. I'm too busy having my fingernails ripped out.
A little incapacitated right now.
I'm just a little out of order. So yeah, they knock on the door, and Casca kind of freezes out because this is a moment she's been thinking about for like a year, and it's here now, and they don't know what they're going to find on the other side of that door, right? So Guts grabs her by the shoulder and lets her know it's going to be okay. So she whips out the keys, sticks the key in the lock, and they open the door. It's pitch black. They can't see shit, so she holds up the lantern. And all they can really see is water dripping, just a couple of puddles of water. Guts comments that it like smells stale in there, like it's just like rank basically. And they kind of take a few steps in before anything really happens. Like the entire group walks into the room before they can even see anything, right? And Casca's calling out for Griffith, like hoping he's gonna answer back or something. And Judo's like, I don't know, maybe he's in another cell. And Charlotte's arguing with him like, no, he's here. It's the lowest level. This has to be it. And while they're arguing, Guts is looking around still, and he notices somebody's here, and on the ground is Griffith. Yeah, so he's just got his Family Guy pose on, just passed the fuck out on the ground. And that's where we will end off today with a look at Griffith, who I don't know, he might be fucking dead at this point. We don't know. Yeah, it's just kind of a silhouette of somebody on the ground. So yeah, we would read a third chapter if the third chapter today wouldn't also be chock full of plenty of things to analyze. But that was the second chapter for today, and what's it called? 1,000 Year Fiefdom. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave this on my favorite panel from the chapters we read today. Slash. A lot to talk about in both chapters, honestly. The way the reveals with the monsters in the first chapter with Rickert, I now looking back on it as somebody's like read further in, it's kind of cool to see how much of this Miura kind of like had planned out, because this is like foreshadowing, right? And the first time you read this, it might come off as just like, oh cool, ooky, kooky, spooky monsters. That's great. Like, I love monsters. I love flying elves that do evil shit. But what Cal was talking about, so one of the slug monster that we see is the king from, I think if you guys remember, way back when.
Was he a count?
Count. Yeah, he was the count.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I couldn't remember. I just wanted to check.
No, for sure. He was the count. And if you don't remember, it's when, Guts showed up in the town, they were chopping people's heads off, and he was there to get more answers about the Behelit, right? So he was going to go after the count. That's where he found the guy who was captured by the count and tortured. The guy killed his wife, the count killed his wife and everything too. And eventually the count killed him too, rest in peace. But yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of color there too, but that's the thing. Other monsters there in the future, like they're there. It's not just like a throwaway monster, right? We see some of these guys like way later on after, this next arc. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
I like that Miura does plan ahead with a lot of his designs, because the more I look back on certain things and the incoming scene that we are not too far away from now, which is kind of crazy, actually. But, right, we've read a lot, but there's a lot of monsters in there that we start seeing crop up repeatedly, or in other places, or maybe they are kind of throwaways, but you see these repeated motifs and designs and stuff with a lot of his monsters, and it's not just like typical like stereotype stuff, even though he definitely does do that. We'll get to the ableism in the next chapter in a second. Yeah. Like we know
it's coming back.
Yeah, we know Miura likes to make disfigured people as like a jump scare and stuff like that. We're fully cognizant.
He really doesn't like people who don't have noses. I've noticed that every disfigured person doesn't have a nose for some reason.
He's like, that's scary, and it's like,
like some people don't have fucking noses, dude. Like it's like
it'd be like that sometimes. But anyways, I feel like I don't know, because like a lot of the Counts thing was like he was very hungry for power and he was very greedy in that sense, and so like obviously Miura does the thing where he's like, oh, he's fat, so he's greedy or whatever, and like kind of progresses that. But then there's also like there's all these different mouths. There's like he has two faces. He has one that like he presents one, and then he has a very monstrous one, even though they're both fucking terrifying. You know, like there's a lot of like good imagery in it too, even if it's side by side with some shitty ones. But it's interesting to see that. And then I want to talk about the bug ones more, but we'll probably talk about that when they actually show up later, because they do. Come back. They're kind of crucial to a specific part, actually. So I don't want to go into it.
They have lore. Yeah, they have more background to them, actually. I will say the beetle rolling up the corpses is fucking sick. I think that is one of my favorite, like, weird things that's happened, because like part of it is like rereading it, part of his work could be like, where is everybody, like where did they go? And then the big reveal is like, here they are.
They're in a ball.
And then the fact that they just leave the ball there too is even more terrifying. Like, what the fuck is he supposed to do? Like,
it doesn't fall apart or anything. It's like a ball of corpses and blood and like God knows what else.
Viscera,
probably like, a lot of excrement too, because they're all dead, and it's just like I cannot imagine dealing with that. But
it's genuinely like terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, I really like how the flea guy looks and how the mantis guy looks. I think those are like two of my favorite designs. I always love spider people in general. I think they're fun, like because I hate spiders and they're scary to me, but also I think they're cool.
The rare flea monster is always cool. I don't know, that one is pretty sick, especially because I don't know, fleas like as a concept are always been fucking freaky to me anyway. So. Perfect.
Fleas and ticks are terrifying. Can confirm as a hairstylist.
Oh God, I can't even. Oh God, Jesus Christ! And used to do dogs too. So
I did. Yeah, no, I've had to pull ticks out of dogs before, which is the scariest thing in the world because you don't want the head to break off. But I think I've told you this story. I don't think I've told it on here, but one time I had a girl come in and I checked her hair, but it was really thick. And I had started to cut, and when I got to the nape of her neck, because normally fleas hang out like kind of in this area, like they'll hang out at the nape a little bit. But I got to the nape of her neck and I saw something move, and I was like, and the thing is, like, as a stylist, you legally cannot have someone with fleas or ticks or anything in your salon. Lice, that's what it was. Sorry, it was lice. And she had a horrible case of lice, and I found out from her mom because I didn't want to like make a big deal out of it, so I pulled her mom aside and I was like, hey, like, I know I started this cut, but your daughter has like the worst case of lice I have ever seen in my life. There's eggs, there's lice, they're everywhere, they're definitely alive. And she's like, we thought we got rid of all of them because she had it before and they got them out of her hair, but I think there was like some sheets they didn't get or something.
Oh yeah.
And you have to like almost like decontaminate like the entire room. And so
wash all your
they
sheets
just got
again,
they all back up in her hair. It was around Thanksgiving. That was when I worked at Great Clips, and I didn't want this little girl to like go home later. So it had been a long ass day, but I was like, I'm going to get some like lice killer, like shampoo and remover, and then I'm gonna come over to your house after my shift and fix this. So I did. Like they were really cool. They gave me like the dad worked for like a sausage plant, and he gave me like this whole case of like jalapeno sausage, and it was the best shit I've ever had in my.
That shit is so good.
It was so good. It was like the shit they put in like those meal boxes or whatever when you like cook, like Blue Apron or whatever the fuck.
Hell yeah.
It was like good shit, and I was like, hell yeah, bro! Like I'll do that. Zach's always like, can you go do her hair again?
We eat our jalapeno sausage. I dropped some lice off at their house.
Yeah, we literally had like, because I did her hair a couple times after that, but like we literally had like sausage all winter because of that.
Yeah, that's the most Texan shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, it really was. It was very Texan. They paid me too, but he gave me the sausage. I was like, you didn't even have to pay me. I'll just take
I'll take the sausage, bro. No, like, for real. Okay, thank you. That just made this entire story a lot creepier. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is a lice.
Lice are terrifying.
They are terrifying. I mean, like, all these bugs are generally terrifying. I mean, except like praying mantises, right? I feel like they look creepier than they actually are. I like because we have plants outside, so we see them all the time, and I think they're cute. But like,
I mean, the female ones like eat the males afterwards, but there's a lot of bugs that do that, so it's not like, I don't know.
Yeah. I found a dead one. I found a dead male like with his head ripped off on one of our plants one time, and I was like, well, at least you got laid, buddy. Like, I was like, well, that sucks for you, dude.
I mean, he went down doing what he loved, so you know, it's all good. He didn't know he would love it before, but like, what a way to go.
They're human. They're human males that would do that. So listen, it is what it is. The other cool monster design, even though we have to censor it, is she's a fairy, but she's like a moth, basically. Yeah, right?
She's a lunar moth.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's what she's based off of. Yeah. I think I've talked about this on here. I fucking hate moths. I have like a phobia of moths. She does not quite lean far enough into that territory for me to be like genuinely freaked the fuck out. But I hate their little feelers. I don't know why. They're just, I don't like them.
It's the feelers. I hate how we used to grow up with them all. I mean, they're all over the place here, right? And
there's a lot.
It's when there's a lot of them is when I can't deal when there's like 50 of them. I'm like, no, I gotta go. I can't do this shit.
I mean, I have another bug story for why I hate moths that much, but I just
scary bug stories. We definitely put a bug warning in the description.
Long story short, I saved a moth, and then when I went to check on it, it had laid a bunch of eggs, and I almost threw up. So that was my moth experience. I was already scared of them, and I was trying to like overcome it and be like, I can be normal. I can be like the normal weird person who likes bugs. And then that happened, and I was like, I hate moths. They're the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
But I like this. This chick is actually like really important later, also. But I love her little like arms, like her little appendages that are crossed over. She has like her regular arms, and then she has like her little bug arms on like lower on her torso that are also like crossed. And that just kind of kills me. She's like, oh yeah.
she's got the little tiny arms. And if you watch, like there's a point where she's like crossing her arms and looking at him, and her like little arms are kind of doing the same thing. It's a cool design. Like Cal said, we will see a lot more of it later. Like I said, like when you read this the first time, you're just like, oh yeah, cool monsters. But all of these guys are pretty important. Also, like, just the fear everything strikes into Rickert. Like, he says what the reader's thinking, where he's like, there's no way, like, we were so close. Like, how did this even happen? Because for all we know, like, this is everybody. Like, this was everybody but everybody who left, right? Like, that was everybody. Like, Rickert is all they got left, and whoever went into the tower, if they make it out, right? So, it really is just, like, desperation. And my favorite part is when it is just, like, it's just all pitch black. Because, like, I mean, it's nighttime, right? And they had fires lighting everything up, and that's kind of how you notice everything was wrong. Is like, you went back and it's just black. It's so like it goes straight horror for a whole chapter, which is kind of cool. Because like the Skull Knight doesn't even fight them. He just kind of pulls up and he's like, "Hey, stop!" And they're like, "All right, we'll see you later," or whatever, dickhead.
We'll do our jobs, I guess. Lock it. You're like, oh, it's this snark. You better go.
Yeah, this fucking loser. He thinks he's cool because he has toe shoes and his stupid horse that can hop on trees like it's fucking Elden Ring or something. Yeah, it's
Oh my god.
yeah. I love Skull Knight, but like his first few appearances are so funny because we don't know who he is, right? Which we kind of got some insight into who he is from the fairy tale, quote unquote, that was told in the Tower chapter. So it is fun to get some lore on him, but like part of it is like it's kind of funny because it's like yeah, it's similar to Griffith's story, but it's also like it's like a prophecy filling itself again, right? It's like what happened, like what made like this, like what made the God Hand come in? Because that's what it was. It's the God Hand, right? They said 4 angels came in. Oh no, they said 5. Sorry, we actually meant 4 angels came through, and and destroyed the place, right? Which is we haven't seen them in a long time. It's been like
it's been a hot second. Well, no, that's not true because we saw them when Griffith was having his hallucination.
Yes, moment. That's the last time we saw them. Yeah. Couple chapters.
It was we didn't like actually see them, to be fair, but like it's been a while since we had like a full-blown conversation.
Yeah. So basically we get this story that Homeboy took over the entire like world, basically, or his entire land. Right. He ruled everything with the iron fist. It sounds like he was pretty cruel. It sounds like he like had a bunch of slaves and shit. But it was to make like his lifestyle richer and to like pad his pockets and stuff, right? And eventually they said it was God, right? But we know it was the God Hand. We don't know exactly what made it happen, but the God Hand came through and basically just demolished the place, killed everyone, sacrificed everyone, and that's why we saw the curse marks on there, right? Which yeah, it's kind of insane because it's like, yeah, we've seen the story before. Apparently, so yeah.
So I'm assuming something happened with the city. Maybe there was some kind of uprising or some shit.
Something happened with his family or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, "Fuck no! Like I worked my ass off for this, did not. But like you know what I mean? Like I created all this thing. I'm going to hold on to it." And then the God Hand showed up and was like, "Hey,
you one of us.
You want to do this?" And he's like, "Fuck yeah, dude! I've killed people. I don't give a shit." I don't think it was a hard choice for him, honestly. Yeah. I think he was just like, bro.
Yeah, it probably wasn't a hard choice. I do wonder though if they offered him the chance to be a part of the God Hand. That's like what I wonder if like, because what if he did become one and then he left or something, or like he defected?
He has like a vendetta against them, kind of, and like he and Zod are both like at odds constantly, and they're obviously kind of on like a different level from a lot of like from even like the Count and stuff.
Yeah, but like that's my thing is I just want to know like why did he do that if everything was like going his way, like what actually happened? So like yeah.
Rereading this story again, I really do feel like it was some kind of uprising or like something was happening against him, like in his court or with his family. Like there was some like event where like things were not going according to plan, which was not what he was used to at that point. I feel like Skull Knights was probably kind of similar, but probably more from like a general's perspective, because it does seem like he was very much like military minded more strictly than Griffith trying to get into like the upper crust kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Skull Knight just kind of bullied his way into it. He was like, no,
he didn't play the game. He didn't. He wasn't sneaky about it either. It was literally just like, I'm going to whoop all of y'all's asses, and then he did.
Yeah, so fucking over. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Because they're like, we didn't even know where he came from. He just like popped up and started like subjugating people.
Yeah, he started just subjugating places, and that's what I like about Skull Knight's backstory. Right, is it's not like. I feel like a lot of times when you get characters like this, it's always like he was a hero and he did this and he did that. But I do like that it's like, this guy was a fucking barbarian. So now it's just kind of up to you to decide what his role is in all this, right?
Yeah.
Because he has, like, helped Guts out or, like, talked to him about things, right? Like, he's like, or he just helped Rickard out. Rickard was about to get fucking eaten, and then he, like, is like, hey, get out of here. So it learning his story after seeing that is almost like, it's like, so what is his deal? Like, he's obviously, like, a fucking brute, like, but what caused him to come here, right? And it's cool because none of the characters are able to connect. Like, Guts is kind of connecting it, but he doesn't know, like, about curse marks or anything or bad halits yet. He doesn't know yet, right? Like, we know he knows later, but not right now. So it's kind of cool because it's still this air of mystery. Because for them, it's like, who the fuck is this? Like, how are these things related?
Right? What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then like I don't know. It's also just so interesting, like going from people like Guts who have like the barest minimum of like context, right? He's like, I've seen a guy who has a skull head, and also this sounds like Griffith. That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird, man. And then we cut to Ricker, who's just like, what the fuck is going on? I don't shit like this in my fucking life. I'm having a panic attack. Like, I don't know what's going on. He's just like complete meltdown, which is completely fair because he has no context. Yeah, but he didn't have context for anything. He's just like freaking out, and who can blame him, honestly? I feel like if you have zero context, if you've never seen a monster in your fucking life outside of seeing Zod in the distance, because I don't think he ever saw Zod up close.
He wasn't there.
Like, then, like they were kind of like, you hang back and do Squire shit, Rickard. Like, you don't need to be like up front on this shit yet. And he saw Zod like fly out of the building, and he was kind of like, "What the fuck?
Yeah, what is that? Yeah."
And like they got back and told him about it. And he's like, "What the fuck are y'all talking about?" Like something that could scare Guts. That's stupid.
It's not
I never heard of that. Yeah, it's fake. I've never heard of that in my life.
Well, now he's heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So like, I don't know. Just seeing him go through what like honestly a good portion of the band went through, like with Zod, like going through it now, and probably piecing that part together and realizing like, oh shit.
Yeah,
like,
that wasn't a game.
They were not fucking around. This was like.
Yeah.
Intense. He may have even forgotten some of that story because it's been a minute.
That's been like a year or 2 years since that happened. Yeah. It's been a while. So that's the thing is like these events are spread out enough that, and they start becoming more frequent enough that is like, what the hell is going on? Because like everybody saw Zod, but that, like you said, that was the last time they really saw anybody besides like Guts, right? Specifically saw anything like that.
Right.
So it's kind of like. It's almost like it's these two parts of the story that are starting to like intersect on each other more and more, right? Like it's starting to eventually like be like, oh, okay, the monsters are bleeding into the story more and more. Because now we just have them attacking the whole. Because I remember reading this and being like, oh shit, they just killed the whole band. Were they even supposed to be here yet? Like it's, and now it's like, yeah, it's like what's going on? Like, but you know, it's called Festival's Eve, and you know, you keep getting the Clone Knight being like. Some shit's about to go down, and that's all he does before he reads.
Yeah, and he's like, deuces.
Be not afraid.
Earlier too, like when you were talking about him being like a barbarian, and then like all he does is speak in like fucking riddles, and it's like, why are you so fucking cryptic, bro? When did you become a philosopher? Like, what happened?
Which is so funny because this isn't a spoiler. Like you know, Griffith becomes a part of the God Hand, like because we've seen him before, right? But like.
Right.
Griffith doesn't talk like that when he's a part of the God Hand, which makes all of this even funnier. It almost makes you think, like, how long have some of these people been, like, in this demonic state, right? Like, we know that, like, we've not gotten confirmation that Skull King is at least, like, 1,000 years old.
Right.
All the other members of the God Hand, we have no fucking idea how old they are. And they all talk in, like, these really cryptic...
We do know that they have been around at least since his inception because there were 4 of them.
Right, okay.
So they're at least 1,000 years old.
They're at least 1,000 years old, yeah.
Probably way older. Sorry, continue. I was just thinking about that.
No, good point. They're at least 1,000 years old. We have no idea, like... Because that's the thing, is when Griffith speaks, when he's with them, he talks like everybody else in modern day in our story, right? Like, he's not like, doth not be afraid or whatever the fuck. He's just like...
Right.
Kill them, execute them, get them out of here. Like he's just very like
his fine pants Guts, you know. He's like, fuck you, bro. He doesn't do that, but like it's you know, it's definitely very different. That's a good point. Like because the Count doesn't entirely talk like that either, you know. Like he just talks like a dude. So he was in Moth Girl too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of gets you thinking, like, is this just something that happens once every 1,000 years or something? Or, like...
Right. And, like, we know that, like, they only come around, like, every so often. And, like, I'm wondering if it's for, like, big events, you know? Because, you'll have to cut this part. Moth Girl only sacrificed her parents, right? Like she didn't sacrifice the whole city or anything. It was 2 people.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's also like, greater risk, higher reward kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
he sacrificed the whole fucking city. Like he sacrificed probably hundreds, if not thousands of people.
They were probably waiting until he got like enough of something, right? Yeah, like a certain amount of like, and this leads. I'll talk about this later when we get to something else, but that makes a lot of sense. So what it probably is like, and this is just us talking about like the stuff we just read, right? It's probably the God Hand like is just watching somebody's journey, and then they kind of jump in at the right moment to give them a deal. Yeah, and it's kind of like a deal with the devil, but it's like the monkey's paw kind of thing. Like it's like you'll get what you want, but it's not gonna be exactly what you thought it was, right? Yeah. So we don't know what they offered the Skull King. I'm really interested to know what they did because it's definitely a spin on whatever. Like they actually told him that's what he actually is now. He's like a messenger now or something. Like we don't know what he is.
He does something. I don't know. Yeah. He's out there doing shit. But yeah, no, you're totally right. And like if you think about like the Count and stuff, like his whole thing was just like fuck my wife. Like I hate like you're just like
I hate my wife. Yeah.
Me with Baphomet. You cheating
on me with the devil, bitch? What's wrong with you? Yeah, he just
he had his Elon Musk moment because
oh my god, the devil. He caught the devil fucking his wife, so he had to go hunt down the devil. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Him just killing the heretics, just killing every person he didn't like. Yeah. I do wonder, because, like, and I feel like that's what I like about this series. I don't think we'll ever get, like, for some of this, right? Yeah, full answers for all of them. There's some of this stuff that, like, we've cut out some of it, and we only can put together the pieces because we've watched, like, we've read some other stuff, right? But, yeah, there's some facts that we know. We know that the egg leads people to places. It will follow somebody. Basically, I think the God Hand, like, tags an egg to somebody, and it will just follow them. Like, there's no way it'll leave them.
We'll get to that. But yeah, like, I mean, obviously the egg has to show up at some point for Griffith again to trigger the apocalypse or whatever. So, we know that happens because he's femto.
Yeah.
So, it's like, it's like the weird kind of, I forget what the term for it is, but where it just always comes back to you, like, no matter what you do. Like, you can try to throw it away, and it's like, here it is. I'm back, bitch. And it's like, oh no. Oh, where did you come from? Go away.
Exactly. It's like, where did this come from? And I don't know. It's all very, like, I feel like that's what also makes this kind of scary is, like, and Miura did this very well. Because we already know that we're reading up to an event. We don't know what happened. Because what we got when we started this manga was a piece of Guts' story. And then we see that there was something more to the story. That something happened between him and Griffith, and now Griffith's part of the God Hand. So, so now we're just trying to, like, solve that mystery. And I feel like that's what kind of makes this funny, is, like, we're leading to that point, and it's kind of like the characters are also, like, they don't know. Like, we know, but they have no fucking idea that, like, there is a significant event about to happen. So, like, it's kind of like a double, like, it's fate in two different ways. Like, we can't stop it, they can't stop it. It's just, like, fate itself. And it's like, Miura wrote it, and God Hand have decided that this is what's gonna happen. Yeah,
like, it will happen. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, that's it. Like, it's set in stone at this point.
Which is why I feel like it is weird. And for people who don't know, I think we talked about this before, but some people recommend you start Berserk at the beginning of Guts' life, where, like, it shows when he's born, right? And reading this, just more and more so, I fully disagree with that, because it makes this hit harder. It's not a spoiler that Griffith is part of the God Hand. It's not, because you read it, you've read it already. Like, and that impact, I feel like, is lessened a lot if you're, like, reading up to this moment and you're like, what's going on? Like, no, you know what's going on already. You're just wondering. You don't want it to happen, and you're just wondering what's going on, right? Like, for all you know as the reader, because we haven't seen Casca in those early chapters, Casca could be dead. Like, we don't fucking know. So, no.
Yeah, there's a lot. I will say, like, because I watched the anime without reading the manga itself first, and like,
Yeah.
I think they like vaguely allude to, so because I think they skip most of the beginning part with Guts and his whole like, brouhaha. Like it's mostly just the golden age, but like we do get like a little glimpse of it where he's like femto or whatever, and like I had cultural context, you know, so I was just kind of like, I know he becomes something. I don't know what happens or like what it is or how bad it is even necessarily.
Yeah.
But then like leading up to it, you're just like, maybe he'll be okay. Maybe he'll make a choice, you know? And like I think it's so much worse when you've read the whole manga. Like you've read it from like the very like rough start to like up through the eclipse, because the whole time you're like, I know this is inevitable, but there is still part of me where I'm like, maybe I'm getting psyched out.
Yeah, or maybe I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe something else happened, and we're trying to figure out. And
there's
I
dread, you know, and it's so much more reading the manga like with that full context than it is when I was watching the anime, because like I was still like fucking terrified. I was like, I don't want any of this to happen. I know something's gonna happen. I don't want it to. But now I'm like, I know what happens. And I would rather die than watch it happen.
Yeah.
No, there's no way to avoid it. And it's kind of that inevitability that's like, fuck, man. Like, it makes it a lot more like poignant in a lot of ways. And a lot of what happens like during the actual eclipse, very, even more heavy hitting.
It makes it impactful because when you see Guts like yelling at Griffith or whatever in those first few chapters when Griffith is femto, right? Like it doesn't really, you don't really feel anything because you don't know why he hates him. You just like feel this intense hatred, and you don't know why he's so mad. Like you have no idea. But then like when it's like we used to know each other, and then you like, I mean, here's the thing, like I said, Miura makes a great deal at reminding you that he becomes femto. Like he always puts like sometimes it's the helmet in the background, or the first chapter we see Griffith, I think, or one of the first chapters, he puts Femto's face behind him, or when we meet Femto, he puts a side by side of them, right? So it's never like a maybe it couldn't happen. It's just like at night. It's just like a okay. So you see this guy. What do you think? Like let's just build all this emotion around it. Like it's one of those things where it's like, what is going on? And you get to meet all these characters, get to meet all these people, and then as you reach whatever the fuck is going to happen at the eclipse, you're like, I don't want to know what happens, because where did all these characters go? That was my first thought reading this, is like, where did everybody go then? Because you got Pippin, you got Rickert, you got all these other fuckheads.
Corcus, Casca, you know, you don't see any of them.
No.
Like, you don't see, cool, like also in the future, you know what I mean?
Yeah. In those early chapters, you really don't see them, and it kind of becomes alarming, right? You're like, what happened? Why does Guts have a gun arm now? Like, why is he missing an eyeball? Like, it's so many different questions, and it's just like, because that's the thing is, and this isn't like a unique to Berserk thing. Plenty of stories do this, right? Where they give you like a little bit of the end, and then it's up to you to kind of like find out what happens, right? Like that's just story writing, right? Yeah, it's a unique way of storytelling, but I feel like the way Berserk does it is it's like it has to like kind of like tap you on the head a little bit to be like, hey, remember, like this happens, and it's happened before.
Right. And I think part of the reason that like kind of does work well and in Miura's favor is because this is the world's longest flashback. Like, this is not what is currently happening. We know what's currently happening. Guts is, like, this grizzled, jaded, like, he's lost all his friends kind of person who's, like, tell, like, a fucking, like, 10-year-old to kill herself, you know? Like, he's like, okay,
kill yourself, kid. Do it. This world's bad enough.
Like, if you don't want it, then die,
just
I guess.
Die then. No.
And then he like walks away and he's crying, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on with this?"
What's wrong with this guy? Yeah.
And you see him like go from being a kid who is really jaded and like really protected to having a friend group, to leaving that friend group to trying to grow as a person, which debatable that he actually does that at the time. We'll get to that more, but like, and then like he's gonna fall into that despair again. So at some point, like any of that stability that you've watched him build is gonna be taken away.
It's gone. It's gone really at some point.
Forget those beginning parts because it's so fucking long, and like you only get clues like every like 10 chapters or so, and it's like fucking 100 chapters long, and so you're like, oh shit, fuck. And then you forget again, and it's like, fuck.
It's this nagging thing in the back of your mind, right? It's like, because like you said, it's the longest flashback in the world. We're not in current day, whatever, like, whatever is the most, like, current plot point in this timeline, we're not there. We're, like, way back here. We're, like, in, like, this is where we started, and then we, like, went all the way back. Like, it's like, no, we will go back to this point at some point. But, and we've both gotten to the point where we've been able to continue the story from there. But I feel like these early chapters with the Band of the Hawk and like all this God Hand stuff is very good because like part of it is that you are like waiting for the other shoe to drop. There's this sense of anxiety the whole time. Like whether you've heard about what happened or whether you haven't, like if you're just reading, you're like, okay, is this when everything goes wrong? Because that's the thing. There's been several fake outs. There's been like, Griffith kind of got hurt. Just kidding, he's fine. Or, the Band of the Hawk got cornered. What's gonna happen? Just kidding, they're fine. There's so many different ways you can see like maybe this will happen this way, and then it comes in a way you never expected. Like you don't expect Guts to leave like the band for a year. Like you didn't know that happened, right? Like
you're like, no, he's gonna stay, right? And then he's like, nope, and you're like, nope. Oh,
okay. He's gonna go swing his sword at a rock for a year. Thanks, Guts. Appreciate it.
Great
fucking
job,
loser.
Guts. Go fucking mountains and cut some logs. I don't know.
I had to find myself.
Find myself under the waterfall, and it's like Casca's like, "What the fuck are you
talking about? Shut up!"
Like that's great. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck your mom. Like,
let's go save that other guy I fucking hate. And it's Casca doesn't deserve any of this, and that's what's like kind of funny about this, right? Is like I felt really bad for her because like, and we'll see why, right? Like, spoiler alert, Griffith's not good. Like, he's not doing well. Just a reminder, he's been being like continuously tortured for a year. He has not been out of this tower. He has not left. He didn't go on vacation. There wasn't any outside time. Like, so we don't know what's going on with him, right? So that's kind of like
that small little monologue from our ableism friend who, like, he was like, "Oh, I cut all your like fucking tendons and I broke your fingers,
snipped your vocal cords, and
and we got to see the fingernails after they've been taken out." We're like, that's
thank you.
Scary.
Is this Attack on Titan? I remember when the torture scene for that came out. Like, well, when people knew it was coming up in the anime, and I don't know how they did it in the anime because I didn't watch the anime up to that point, which is I think that was only like the second season. But I still remember when Attack on Titan.
Like college.
Yeah, I stopped watching it. Well, it just took too fucking long to come out. Like, by the time it came out, I was disinterested, and I already read, like, way past where the season started, and then I kind of lost interest. But I still remember, and that's, like, and this still has to do with Berserk, right? And this is just kind of funny, like, what comes off as edgelord stuff and what doesn't in these mangas. Because, like, I'm not saying, don't get me twisted, Berserk is a heavy edgelord. One of the edgelordiest comics ever, as we've talked about at length on here. But like, I remember reading the torture scene, and if you don't know, there's a torture scene in Attack on Titan where they're torturing. It's not a spoiler if you don't know. They're torturing somebody they think might be a part of like why they're getting attacked or whatever, right? And it's like incredibly graphic in the manga. It's like a lot of torture tactics. I have to do like fingers and stuff like that. Like, it's very graphic. And
the reason they attack those, it hurts.
It's very, very graphic, and I just remember like reading that, and people were being like, "This is like one of the toughest manga of all time." But I just thought like they're like it's so like it's like like some people were like, "This is unnecessary," which I was like, "Yeah, kind of." But like, there's so many things in that specific manga where they do just like extend the violence for the sake of being like, we are a violent manga. And I feel like sometimes Berserk does that, but then like once we get into the flow of like, you know, Guts swings his sword and guys just explode, I feel like it stops going for like the edge lord fest for most of the stuff, and it at least is like, this is what the gore level is gonna be. But then, you know, Miura hits you in the face with some edgelord shit like 5 minutes later, so then it's like, okay, never mind.
Like, I've never had a friend in my life, and you're like, okay, bro.
Yeah, you're like, okay, like shut the fuck up.
Go hang out with your friends who are there for you, and Puck.
No. You should leave them for a year and then wonder where they went.
I'd be like, should I have stayed with my friend? Did I make a mistake? It's my fault. I don't think it's my. Is it my fault?
Isn't my fault? Did I?
That's my fault.
The last thing I do want to talk about these two chapters, we think we've pretty much ran them into the ground, but I do like how the second chapter, the one I took today, is like the horror, like the spooky story and the dark like vibe of it, right? Where it's like, I like this dynamic. It's like they're not having fun, right? Like they're on a mission to go save their friend, but it's like it's almost some levity that gives you some lore, because it's like, oh, you guys ever heard about this? Like yeah, this is what happened, and it's like this really scary story, right? Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where it's like Miura tells you it's like this kind of spook you, but then when the reveal happens, that it's like, no, you're still in Berserk. Like that all happened. That's not fake. Like that is pretty accurate to what happened. It's like I don't know. It just gives like that, like you're around a campfire trying to scare the shit out of your friends, except the killer actually does pop up at the end of it. Like it's kind of fucked up, right? Like
it's like this scene always makes me think of like kind of like a Scooby-Doo scene or something.
Yes,
because it's like they're walking along, and like one of the locals is like telling them a story, and they're like, "Oh, I heard this," and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, but like it was real," and they're like, "Oh, okay." And then like the whole like Casca dropping her torch and it like falling down, like that scene where, first of all, I love scenes like that because it gives like a real sense of like how big the area they're in is, you know?
Yeah, because it's fallen for a while. It doesn't hit the bottom.
And then like, and they look down and they're like, "Oh damn, that shit's steep." But you as the viewer get to like see the shit that's actually at the bottom, you know? Because like it's always like kind of a very hokey scene to me, but I still like it a lot because it's like it's a scene builder, you know? Like it really gives like a sense of like kind of gravitas to it, but also kind of like oh, that was real. Okay, so I kind of know what to expect out of this.
Yeah, it lets, because like that's what I like about this manga, is like we're always operating with a little more information than the main characters are, and this like keeps that going, right? Like it's like, okay, this is their version of it and what they got, and just so you know, yes, this did happen. Like, and now it's up to you to figure out like what could have caused that, or like read further to figure out what could have caused it.
Right, and it gives you like the further context clue of having the mark of sacrifice there too, right? Like they don't know anything about that. They're like, yeah, the city got like fucking smote, and she's like, yeah, I don't know, it's like an earthquake or some shit. And like this Judo's telling like this grand story. He's like, the angels came down and they like decimated the fucking city and it fell to the ground. And she's like, yeah, it was like a natural disaster. I don't know what happened, but it like was actually here. Now it's gone. And he's like, I was telling a story, man. Like,
yeah, he's like, okay, I was trying to have fun. But yeah, you're right, the curse mark thing, because they don't know what the curse mark means. We barely know what it means at this point as a reader. We just know that, like, that is...
bad.
It's bad. And, well, actually, no, we do know what it means, because actually the God Hand explained it to us in the first few chapters.
Struggler. Yeah. No, that was fine. But...
yeah, the struggler. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's really well done, and like you said, it is hokey. I feel like that's what I like about it. It is like kind of like tongue in cheek, and I feel like that's where this manga is like fun. Is like when I think about reading Berserk, I'm always like, oh, this is gonna be so depressing. But then when you read it, you get a lot of stuff like this, where it's like, no, it's not just dark and depressing, and everybody's getting murdered all the time. It's like there are a lot of fun like friend dynamics. Like, yes, there is a reason people draw fan art of the Band of the Hawk. They actually do have fun dialogue and have fun together.
They're friends.
And like, there's a good dynamic around it, right? It's not just like a fake thing. It's not like a lot of sometimes when I see like fan art and stuff where I'm like, these characters have never interacted. Why did you do that? But it's like it's like when they have like It's like when they have like Persona characters that never meet each other because one of them like dies earlier, and they're like, yeah, they're best friends, and it's like, no, they're not.
It's like they're really
they
not.
didn't get to
like,
meet them. They died.
Right.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll depart on this note because I know you just started reading it. I've been thinking a lot about Chainsaw Man recently because a friend who the anime is airing right now as of the time of recording this, and I have mixed feelings about it. There's good and bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
But one of my friends, my Guilty Gear friends, he's a big Berserk fan, and like I agree with him on a lot of stuff. Sometimes I'm like, that's silly.
Yeah.
I think that's silly, personally. I don't think it was necessary, but whatever. You know, people have different opinions about that stuff. Yeah. But he started reading Chainsaw Man, and he really, really liked it a lot. And he's... I love him very much, which is why I can clown on him. But he's like, is this a Berserk reference? And I'm like, it's not a fucking Berserk reference, man. Because, like, he's like, no, it looks like this. And I'm like, it looks like sometimes. Sometimes it's just kind of armor.
Yeah.
It's not a Berserker armor reference.
Is this a fucking JoJo reference?
It's like on par with that. And it's not just him. I've seen like other people do this with Chainsaw Man too, where they're like, is this a Berserk reference? And I'm like, it's a gore manga.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else to like illustrate this to you. And like, I think because Berserk is so well known for being gory, which we have talked about a lot on this podcast, a lot of people like see it as like the be all end all for gore. And I don't entirely agree. I think it's a very violent manga, but like
there are gorier mangas.
Like, exactly. Yeah. And like I think Chainsaw Man is like, it's very visceral in a lot of ways, which is how I have described Berserk in the past, but it's still different. It's a very different tone to me, and a lot of the fights have a very different tone other than being like, wow, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being like, oh, yeah, instead of being like, oh, cool sword, it's like, oh, cool chainsaw, you know, like, it's like, I just like fight scenes though and stuff, but like, in terms of like weird like body shit and gore, like, I feel like Dorohedoro and like Die Dark have like outclassed like everything by miles because it's so casual, everything in it, and you're just like, that's normal, and she's like, yeah, it's normal, and you're like, okay, and then you just have to roll with, you just have to live with it. Whatever, like, this is fucked up. It's like, that's normal, and you're like, okay, and she's like, this house is made of organs, and you're like, all right, nailed it.
I love shit like that. I feel like that's... I bought the first 2 volumes of Chainsaw Man recently, so I'm gonna start reading it. Nice. I haven't broken into them yet, but I love... I know you were talking about Dorohedoro and stuff, which is where like I love stuff like that. It's kind of like when there's like H.R. Geiger shit, where it's like, this shit is fucked up, and that's just how it is. Like, it's not even like that. Yeah. I love horror or like gore stuff like that, or body horror stuff, and like I feel like
it's funny, because her work is fucking hilarious, and I don't know how to like fully explain it because a lot of it's stupid, but it's also just like, why is that so fucking funny? It's the dumbest shit I've heard in my life. Anyways, continue.
No, I just think that that's funny that people consider like Berserk the goriest. I feel like there's a difference between like just something being gory and something being like impactful, and I feel like some of the gore in Berserk is impactful because of what like the implications are. But I feel like if you're looking for straight gore, there are plenty of like, especially horror manga, that do that like way, way better. Slash!
Yeah, it was good 2 chapters today. We might try to get through a little bit more next time. We'll see like how meaty the next couple chapters are. Because we normally try to do more, but sometimes there's just a lot to go over. Like, I feel like the lore stuff today would have been way too much if we had like also included seeing Griffith for the first time. It's just too many options to talk about.
I was like thinking of asking you about 3 chapters, and before I even texted you, I read the 3rd one, and I was like, yeah, no, that's too much to talk about today. So yeah, I mean, yeah, just thanks for guys for, you know, coming through and listening. Thank you for dealing with the delay of the first video episode. That's on my end. I am trying to get this whole video editing thing like under control, as well as like my life under control. So both of these episodes will be out this week. So if you're listening to this, the first video episode we did, which was the last episode, will probably be out as well. So if you want to go catch that one, go ahead. But thank you guys for being patient. We just want to keep this thing like going. Honestly, it's not even like, I was talking to Haley about it, and I'm trying to be like, not beat myself up about like, you know, over being consistent over like not enjoying what I do. So, you know, we just want to make sure we're ready to do the show when it's time to do the show, instead of being like, all right, let's talk about Berserk, and when I am losing my fucking mind right now. So we appreciate you guys, you know, giving us space.
Yeah, I mean, y'all both know we are mentally ill, the two of us, in several different flavors. So it's just like, some days it's just not a recording day, and some days it's just not time for that kind of thing. And we really appreciate y'all's continued patience and also understanding with that, because we want to make something y'all like. We don't want to put something out where it's obvious Chevall and I are both like pissed off about something, or like super depressed that day and have nothing to say, because like, what's the point of doing something that day that's just gonna, if you're not feeling good? Exactly. So we want to keep it to episodes where we can talk passionately about things that we liked about the chapters, and like be able to talk about stupid bullshit instead of like being really depressed about state of things the whole time. So
yeah, exactly. We just appreciate y'all, you know, just making space. We're just, like I said, I don't want this to stop. It's fun. Sometimes when I'm super busy, it's the only time I really talk to Cal that much in a week. So
really busy.
So yeah, we definitely want to keep this going. But thank you guys for always showing up. You can always catch us at our email. We're unpackingit@gmail.com. Our Instagram, unpack that pod. Our Twitter, let's _unpack_it. We're gonna have a Tumblr soon, so we'll start plugging that instead.
And we'll plug our YouTube whenever we start putting stuff up. We also want to make a Twitch channel. We've talked many times about wanting to stream stuff for y'all. Now Chevall and I play several games that the other play, but also we want to do just some fun bonus stuff, maybe some chill sessions.
Some chill stuff. I have a couple of visual novels I've gotten recently, so we can always laugh at those. So and any stuff like that. With the holidays coming up too, it might be easier for us to just do a stream instead. So
we might do something like, I don't know. We might do something where if we get like a certain amount of like subscribers or followers, we'll like play a short game or something that you guys can vote on and inflict upon us. So
exactly.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, torture us in your own way. Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Torture us just like
Yeah, exactly. No, not like that. Not like that.
No.
Oh gosh.
But we appreciate y'all as always once again, and we will see you next episode, which will hopefully be in 2 weeks. But
should be in 2 weeks. But keep an eye on our social media. But catch you guys next time, and keep reading Berserk so you can keep up with us. Catch you later.
Yeah. See ya.
Game over!